All right, going to the first piece. Bill of Particulars regarding so-called Black history, cause of action. On the left, we have the mother of civilization, Mesoamerica, and on the bottom, the same. So this brief presents a timely demand for more definite statements concerning the nature, the cause, and the intent of those who reference themselves and other natural persons as African Americans. They then switch up and teach Black history. So they identify as African American, but then they teach Black history. So two nom de guerre, right?
Yeah.
They're not teaching African American history. They say they're African American, but they teach Black history.
Black history,
right?
That's crazy.
Who are they talking about? This has been a particular interesting practice of modern scholars and historians. We have examined and read many books, articles, and historical documents, etc., and have come to the clear understanding and conclusion that the political interests and concepts of the people are compromised, confusing, and misleading regarding constitutional principles and of de jure government. First, there exists no nation of Black Americans, nor is there a Black America in any documented record the world over. Black Americans are what is referred to in law as a misnomer, or collectively misnomers. As you well know, grammatically, Black is an adjective and is a proper noun. Socially and politically, Black implies civiliter mortuus, which means dead in the eyes of the law. Black American is not a nationality, nor is it a nation. Therefore, Black has no political interest nor powers in the free national constitution and was prepared for all free national beings. Anyone that does not answer up to the constitutional government by name and principles are classified as undesirables and are subject to the colorable democracy bondage veiled as 14th Amendment and 3/5 persons clause. The 14th Amendment and the 3/5 person clause was politically created to make artificial persons, i.e. corporate slaves, out of natural persons. Black, Negro, coloreds, and African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics are not living people. These tags are politically and lawfully brands.
Run that back. Just like
Black, Negro, colored, and African Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics are not living people. These tags are politically and lawfully brands and have been put upon Aboriginal indigenous Moors of Morocco, now called America, a bastardized form of Al Morocco. These Black, quote unquote, brand names have never been recognized by any true American citizens. Through one's free national name, one is known and recognized by the nations of the earth that are recognized by the said national government in which one lives. If the Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national names and religions before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more right than the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In addition, reparations means to repair a nation. This has a strong impact on why there has not been any reparations nor relief for a so-called Black nation of people. One must claim one's nationality and one's nation to be recognized by the nations of the earth. In regard to becoming a Republican or not versus a Democrat or not, there is really no option, as you are a political republic at birth. America / Morocco is a national republic. Therefore, to be an American Moroccan is to be a Republican.
Yeah. Right.
Anyone who claims otherwise has denationalized and expatriated themselves from their own government and their own nation. So anything outside of saying who you are, you're looked at the whole stateless thing, but you also expatriated. And you're not representing your nation no more. You represent a de facto. So that's a traitor. That's just a cute political way of saying you're a traitor. Has expatriated themselves. That's just traitor. That's
government.
From their own government and denationalized. That's just a cute way of saying you're a traitor. The Constitution secures your rights under Article 4, Section 4, a Republican form of government. That's where it mentions that you have a right to a Republican form of government, Article 4, Section 4. You are not secure nor protected under any other form of government. The Constitution is usurped day by day by democracy, de facto government, although they take an oath to uphold it day by day. As for those who are branded Negro, colored, Black, etc., they have no guarantees. They have only granted privileges because they have waived their inalienable birthrights by not claiming their own nationality, names, and connection to the Constitution, which brings them back into the constitutional fold of government, wherein their rights are secured. Many have violated these principles unknowingly. Hence, two well-known statements. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, and my people perish by the day for a lack of knowledge. Bill of Particulars. We pose the following questions as keys to inspire others to think, so they may better help to restore this fallen nation. 1. Who and what is Black America? And these are questions for people that's going to be hearing this, later. Everybody in here pretty much knows these questions. So once again, who and what is Black America? 2, what is the nationality of a Black American? 3, are people identified by colors? 4, what is the national flag of Black Americans? 5, what constitution secures and protects the inalienable rights of Black Americans? 6, what is the divine title of the Black government? 7, what are the descent names of their forefathers? They're talking about who's the descent names of the forefathers of the Black people and African Americans. 8, what land is associated with their descent names as far as being Black and African American? What land is associated with that? 9, what is the free national name and religion they claim? What's the free national name of the Black and African American people? What's the religion? You know what I mean? So these are thought-provoking questions for ones that will be listening to this later, and for everybody on here as well. Ali Khan, Islam, happy Holy Day.
Islam, happy holy day.
Peace, more Islam.
Islam, more.
Islam.
So woman in the ancient matriarchy, woman in government. Let that picture sink in. Down through the ages and throughout the ancient halls of learning, a timeless phrase has been taught, spoken of, and written above walls of stone on tablets of stone, upon parchments and papyrus scrolls, and upon the hearts and minds of humanity. Man, know thyself. A lack of knowledge about the ancient history of civilization and the social orders established upon the earth planet, the sin titles. Wanted a clear understanding and knowledge of the present day socio-economic imbalances and the veiled social political motives of arrogant rulers. Put a couple people in. However, let me rewind that. A lack of knowledge about the ancient history of civilization and the social orders established upon the earth planet, the sit titles, one of a clear understanding and knowledge of the present day socio-economic imbalances and the veiled social political motives of arrogant rulers, exploiting conquerors, and untoward scholars. However, such vanity and selfishness needs to be the fate of humanity. Truth always waits nearby for rediscovery. There are certain undeniable truths and realities in life that verify the manifestations and functionalities involving the human experience upon the earth planet, which cannot be intelligently ignored nor denied. Reality bears her face with instructional splendor when or if one seeks clarity, honesty, and true resolution to the myriad intersocial problems now plaguing the world. However, if one attends to remedy the foresaid social ills, one may quickly discover that demonic defenders of the corruptive den are just feigned appearance of a peace-loving society. There will be more than a mild protest of surprise to the actual causes of the den than one expected to expose, uncover, or find. Now, when I read that last part, it's like we hear about the stuff, like we may, we learn the law and everything like that, but until, we learn about the corruption, we learn about the secret societies by, master teachers and things like that, they'll bring this up. And it's like, it's eye-opening, but until you like face a judge in his face and you see him live on the bullshit, and then like the expressions he give after you let him know like what it is as far as his lawful obligations in an intelligent tone, that's when it's a reality, because it's actual experience.
Yeah, experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you can navigate accordingly based on what you just saw, the interchange. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, this information is the truth because I'm seeing how a human being in front of me
Yeah,
is acting. You know what I'm saying?
How they dance.
Yeah, how they dancing and try to wiggle around and double talk, and it's like, come on, man, what are you talking about?
Because they so used to the Negroes tap dancing.
Yeah,
We in there. Hold on. Delegation of authority, status, jurisdiction.
Taraka L, Islam. Who else was up here?
Islam, brother.
Islam more.
Peace. Happy holy
Happy
day.
holy day.
Peace.
happy holy day.
Holy day.
Jerry Bay, Islam.
Blaze, Islam.
Peace
Islam.
and love.
Islam.
Sorry for my tardiness, Noble. That freeway, man.
Oh, Islam's all good. All right, so we're gonna move on to the taboo section. Taboo is an adjective which implies, in general, to an edict, a bull, or a public prediction, declaring a thing, a subject matter, etc., to be set aside, set apart, or consecrated to a special use or purpose. That which is designated taboo is restricted to the special use, knowledge, or prerogative of a god, a king, a priest, an adept, a chieftain, etc. Taboo subjects and matters are forbidden to general use, restricted and prohibited to a particular class, especially to women or to a particular persons. Taboo is held as inviolable, sacred, forbidden, unlawful, etc. And as for the public, classified under Index Laborium Prohibitorium and Index Expurgatorius. Theological intrigue and political subject matters have been proven to be especially sensitive educational topics. When one openly converses about non-placating resolutions to these enigmas, a revisit through the heart and the mind to the ancient isonomy government principles. Some people say isonomy, I pronounce it isonomy. Governmental principles of our ancient Moabite Moorish mothers and fathers reveal serious violations against law, order, and governmental principles. Observe the contradictions which have contributed greatly to our presently disrupted pursuit of happiness. That language is in, where else is that language at? We just talked about that a couple Zooms ago, the pursuit of happiness. What contractual document is that language in?
Bill of Rights in the fifth Bill of Rights.
Okay. And the Declaration of Independence, right?
Islam.
That's
Razir Bey, Islam, happy holy day.
Peace, more.
Man, peace. Happy holidays, man. Islam.
Happy holy day.
Islam.
Happy holy day, loved one. Islam.
Islam.
Peace, love, more. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad I got a chance to get in there. I just able to tap in, getting out of the field or getting off the field or whatnot. But I'm glad I was able to tap in, catch up with something.
Islam. Good to have you, Noble, always. Love.
Islam, more. Sure. Absolutely.
So if one displays even a simulacrum, a fraction of courage, and dares to question the presiding religious and political hypocrisy concerning the commonly paraded self-righteous attitudes and inequality practices, some people become immediately, arrogantly, and unnecessarily defensive. Such pompousness, or nobody knows what pompous means, cocky, I guess would be the synonym.
Yeah.
So such pompousness and vanity can be easily rationalized and understood when it comes to the revealing truths about Inquisition history or about discussing the ancient superior social status of Asiatic African women in ancient civilization governing the North America territory, the North Gate. One cannot and will not understand or properly analyze the foul social, economic, and political imbalances imposed upon North America's natural peoples if one has no knowledge of the lecherous Inquisition philosophy and about the anti-humane philosophy and psychic attacks, which are the seeds and fertilizers of our present social, spiritual, economic, and political disorders. With glances into the mirrors of the mind, let us travel, if only a little, through the halls of our ancient Moabite chronicles. When the Moors began to adopt and accept the alien and vague idol god worship systems of the Inquisitionists of Rome, the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, they, the Moors, began to fall quickly into disorder, naivety, divisions, self-hatred, ignorance, and poverty. Many who converted to Christendom and adopted the practice of denying a consanguine relationship to their own blood and forefathers have been referred to by the Christian conquerors and Inquisitionists as Moriscos. Being Moors in denial. Those same so-called Moriscos are today referred to as Negroes, Blacks, and Coloreds. There are so many volumes of text to study and to examine about the Inquisition and the Inquisitionists that no single book or writ could do the subject matter justice. This demonic deeds Their philosophies and their effects were so encompassing and destructive that no single writer or historian could ever do subject matter justice. Neither can the human family ever be fairly compensated for the evils perpetrated against the living and the unborn by the hands of the minds and such monsters of darkness and their helpers. One of the most successful psychic attacks ever devised and perpetrated against humanity and the civilized world was the false, malicious, vile, atrocious, and banal act of attaching the name Jesus to the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed. This deception was devised to effectively give fictional public sanction to Roman Christendom, solidifying it as legitimate to truth during the Byzantine era. The Nicene Creed was actually authorized by the great Roman Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine, Flavius Valerius Constantinus, AD 280 through 337, is sometimes referred to in history as Constantine the Great. He was born of a Gothic tribe at the land area known as Moschia, which is geographically located at what is now called Bulgaria and Serbia. The Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed. The Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, its pseudo-religious priests, their assigned and ordained leaders, and other clubism type persons have taken for themselves, quote unquote, world titles of authority. More often than not, these persons have projected asinine and arrogant expectations as to what their exclusive and specialized versions of God wants and desires for everyone else. This is a practiced diversion, which is forwarded in order for them to justify the many unresolved social injustices. Of course, there is always a monetary price included. While these self-righteous deity title persons are rarely put to stern or substantive questionings, even a child will recognize many of their pompous, pacifying, divertive, and yet empty proclamations as being not much more than neatly packaged royal maggot dung. Those of us who know a little about true world history, ancient scripts, and about the worldwide inquisition and pseudo-religion are not engaged in nativity or naivety and can easily see through the farce. We, being aboriginal to the land and having been made conscious, have a knowledge about the veiled secrets and truth about the occupation of the Western Hemisphere, and thus why women have been minimized throughout occupied North American society. The precepts of suppressing the Asiatic African women emanates from the deviant, anti-matriarchal, and pseudo-religious foreign inquisition customs, which have been rooted within North American social order by the United States society members. And the United States society members. So their society got board members, the whole nine. If you're not part of their board members, i.e. electoral college, your vote doesn't even count. They're just collecting data to see what the general masses is feeling. Like, okay, so most of the people who's feeling this dude, they like his personality. Okay, we gonna use him to rape him. That's all it is, because your vote don't count unless you're part of their electoral college. Their society, their Union State Society members. The Union State Society is organizationally abbreviated the U.S. democracy body politic, which is a contemporarily founded of corporations feigning as legitimate government in North America. Any open conversations or discussions which allude to a positive light about women and the ancient matriarchy has been and is one of those social taboo subjects which are shunned on a major scale at most all social, religious, and political levels. The fact remains, in light of such abbreviations, that North America and the true natural peoples, inhabitants thereof, have been held under alien crusade colonial European domination for the last few centuries. Thus, the advent or arrival of the Union State Society's patriarchal occupational colonialism, and its colorable U.S. government policies by Roman papal / canon rules of law. The true history about ancient world civilization, science, astrology, cosmology, and woman was and is suppressed by the pretentious impostors. Their oppression policies are embodied and reflected within the colored and fixed Black codes. Inquisition insights. It becomes pertinent at this time to relate to a few points in world history concerning the Inquisition. This will give the readers some insight into the modern day social politics, which are often misrepresented as racism, and has identified characteristics unique to a twisted slave culture as the one bred in North America. Demos and democracy. Why is it that the Europeans who now occupy North America and control the seats of government constantly chant the phrase, our democracy, at every opportunity when addressing the public? This political phrase implies as white supremacy, exclusivity, and feudal military powers. The interjecting of or the chanting of the word democracy has been mystically instructed to the masses and invoked by the demos politicals hovering over the seats of government, and thus the usurped political power in North America. This psychosis is practiced in order to imprint the famed Greek word demo upon the minds of the misgoverned natural peoples. Democracy is the political code word or password used in the Roman European colonists who are occupying a land which is not theirs to spool their social, political, and military activities and convert operations over the Northwest North American territories and natural peoples. Note that the demo claims are made under a feigned claim of unspecified, vague, and so-called American national citizenship. This popularized demo chant was and is invoked for mass mental grooming to imbue the acceptance of the displacement of the original organic republic form of government. Democracy, demos, uncovered and exposed is the hypocritical and deceitful political subversion code method of Roman political rulership in the extreme West. This title studied and misrepresented political system was formed to economically displace the natural people and to place them outside of the secure protection and immunities of organized constitutional government. This allows and sets the stage for the demos to steal the legitimate seats of the republic's government. So basically our inactivity, they basically is cheating on a political level.
Yeah.
Because it's not, we're not active organized. So they are active and organized. So they acting as the de facto bays, L's, and all that. Right. Democracy is derived from the Old Greek word demos or demi, often personified, which refers to the peoples of commons of an ancient Greek state. Hence, personified political body politic of the occupying forces of European crusaders and inquisitionists in association and through enslavement and deception, conquering and occupying the Western Hemisphere. Any questions on That little piece right there. Gotta make sure I keep this an hour flat because they be hating on the IG when I try to air this. Do you know your rights? What corrupt politicians and lawyers don't want you to know about traffic courts? Do you know about color of law and racketeering practices among city and town politicians by using quasi-criminal traffic courts to deprive the people of their rights and their property? Do you know the difference between a right and a licensed privilege? Have you witnessed unlawful profiling in your community? The Supreme Court of the United States has addressed substantive law dealing with the substantive rights of the people. The United States Supreme Court, Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution for the United States of America Republic, vested judicial powers and establishment of inferior courts. Section 1 of Article 3 of the Constitution. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. So the Congress got to ordain and establish these inferior courts that from time to time, happen to exist for whatever reason. If they do exist, they need delegation of authority from Congress. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their office during the good behavior and shall at stated time receive for their service a compensation, which shall not be diminished during the continuance in the office. Whereas there is no question that a bench summons, a detention, an arrest, a ticket, or citation issued by a policy officer or by others for parking or traveling with no driver's license, a foreign driver's license, no registration, or no mandatory insurance, etc., which carries a fine or jail time, is a penalty or sanction, and is indeed converting a right into a crime, thus violating substantive rights. It is reasonable to assume that the court's judicial decisions are straight and to the point, and that there is no lawful method for government to put restrictions or limitations on rights belonging to the people. The right to own and to possess private property and personality and to be secure in those rights is preserved and secured for the people and the citizens by the Constitution. The government does not give rights, for it has no rights to give or to sell, nor to license. Government is put in place to protect and secure the pre-existing inalienable rights of the people and the citizens. United States Constitution, Fourth Amendment, or like we discussed last Zoom, the Fourth Bill of Rights. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, house, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Article 6, Clause 2 and 3 of the United States Constitution, also known as the Supremacy Clause. Clause 2, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or the laws of any state to the contrary or opposite, notwithstanding, has no weight Clause 3. The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification by any office or public trust under the United States. 13 Supreme Court case reports. 1. The right to travel, the right to mode of conveyance, the right to locomotion are all absolute rights, and the police cannot make void the exercise of rights. State versus Armstead. 2. The use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and natural beings cannot be rightfully deprived. Court case, Chicago Motor Coach versus Chicago. Also in Laguerre versus Chicago, and also in Boone versus Clark. 3. The right to park or travel is part of the liberty of which the natural citizen cannot be deprived without due process under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, Kent versus Duels. Remember, we should know what due process is by now, right? And you notice in the, even in this case law, it mentions the Fifth Amendment, but the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment collectively is due process. Warrant attached to an affidavit of an injured party, wet ink signature of the injured party. The affidavit gets reviewed at a grand jury level. They indict based on the evidence of the actual human affidavit and the preponderance of the evidence of that actual human may have. Then a warrant is issued. Then that warrant must be attached to the affidavit of the human being that claimed that you injured them. They got to be attached to the warrant. And then the warrant specifies specific places to be searched. They can't just be freestyling. Due process. Number 4, the right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport one's property therein, either by carriage or automobile, is not a mere privilege, which a city may permit or prohibit at will, but a common right, which she has under the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness, right? We keep bumping into that. Thomas versus Smith. 5, state police extends only to immediate threats to public safety, health and welfare, etc. Michigan versus Duke, which driving and speeding are not. So that's California versus Farley, California 3rd District case in 1971. Number 6, the state is prohibited from violating substantive rights. Owen versus City, 1980 Supreme Court case. And it cannot do by one power, i.e. police power, that which is, for example, prohibited expressly to any other such power, taxation / eminent domain, as a matter of law. That's U.S. and UT versus Daniels. Nor indirectly that which is prohibited to it directly. Fairbanks versus U.S. 7, traveling in an automobile on the public roads was not a threat to the public safety or health and constituted no hazard to the public, and such a traveler owed nothing more than due care as regards to tort for negligence. So tort for negligence. So due care, and I got parentheses as regards to tort for negligence. So what you'll be showing due care is you're making sure you show care about not injuring a human being, because that person can turn around and sue you for a tort, under a tort claim based on negligence because you hit them. That's the only thing you need to be showing due care about, is making sure you ain't hitting people when you're behind the wheel or whatever. Outside of that, there's nothing to really be, you know what I'm saying? Everything else would be pseudo to be worried about. As a tort for negligence to the public, and the owner owed no other duty to the public, i.g. state. He, she, and his or her auto having equal rights to and on roadways, highways, as horses and wagons, etc. This same right is still substantive. It's still a substantive rule, in that speeding, running stop signs, traveling without licenses or registration are not threats to the public safety, and thus are not arrestable offenses. And that's Christie versus Elliott. And also in California versus Farley. California 3rd District case, 1971. 8. Under the United States Republic's constitutional system of government and upon the individuality and intelligence of the citizen. So those first two lines in that, some things should pop out to you. They're saying based on the intelligence of the citizen. That's basically saying competence. So I'm gonna run that back. Under the United States Republic's constitutional system of government and upon the individuality and intelligence of the citizen, the state does not claim to control one's conduct to others, leaving one the sole judge as to all the effects oneself. That's Mugler versus Kansas. U.S. Supreme Court case. So you are, they're basically saying you're the sovereign, or what. If you can competently handle your affairs, then, you're not subject to nobody that's foreign to what you got going on. That's Mugler versus Kansas. Number 9, where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation which will abrogate them. Miranda versus Arizona, another United States Supreme Court case. 10, the claim and exercise of constitutional rights cannot be converted into a crime. Miller versus Kansas. 11, for a crime to exist, there must be an injured party or corpus delicti. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed on one because of this constitutional right. Sherry versus Cullen. 12, if any tribunal or court finds absence of proof of jurisdiction over a person and subject matter, the case must be dismissed. That's Louisville versus Motley. The accuser bears the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. 13, lack of federal jurisdiction cannot be waived or overcome by agreement of parties. Griffin versus Matthews. And want of jurisdiction may not be cured by consent of parties. Industrial Addition Association versus CIR, United States Supreme Court case. So 13, so lack of federal jurisdiction cannot be waived or overcome by agreement of parties. So, even if, the people involved agree to be like, but you can use this venue, it's still not, according to the law, they can't do that. They both breaking the law. So 8:54. We'll stop right here with the recording. Because anything over an hour flat is like maybe that's crazy stuff. As far as when I upload. But okay. How we feeling today? How we feeling? Oh, shit, it's still recording. Let me stop this.